House Speaker Mike Johnson and the Freedom Caucus are headed to the White House, summoned by the president to get a scolding on the still not passed spending bill. Joining us now, advisor to Senator Bernie Sanders and executive director of the nonprofit news organization More Perfect Union, Faz Shakir. Ashley Parker and David Frum are still with us as well. All right, Faz, you're the new guy in the group. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
This spending bill is something that Democrats are going to try to use to their advantage. They're going to say they don't want it to pass, but they're going to say if it does pass, that this is going to take benefits away from the working class, and it's going to do it at the expense of, or it's going to do it in service of, tax cuts for the very rich. How complicated is the messaging on that?
Pretty simple, straightforward. And to win the battle, we obviously do need to talk about these programs as working class programs, because you've heard Mike Johnson casually refer to people as, we don't want able-bodied young men sitting in basements on video games. That's who we're trying to target. That's his quote. I mean, if he says it directly, I don't know what human beings out there really desperately want to be unemployed and be on Medicaid. That's their ambition in life. I think people want to work, and they are working. They're trying to get jobs. And it's often not in their control that an employer fires them or limits their hours, cuts their wages. And to fight for working class people is to understand that they are trying their best to succeed, and they're up against these barriers and need healthcare, rely on Medicaid to just get by. And it is up to Democrats to make the case, not just to protect Medicaid, but to own it, to say that this vision, this program exists because we are authors of it. We care so deeply about it. We are going to go and educate the American public about its importance and its value.
Ashley, this is a bill that the Republicans are struggling to get done. I mean, Jake Sherman is a believer that it will get done and it will end up going to the Senate where it's going to get changed. But this struggle that the Republicans continue to have within their own conference, when they are in control of the House, when they're in control of the Senate, when Donald Trump is the president, this is the second time around that we've watched them struggle to get on the same page. How is that possible when Donald Trump is supposed to be the biggest cudgel in the party? Why is he not able to get legislation passed?
So I will say Jake Sherman knows far more than I do, but from what reporting I've done, I also share his belief that ultimately, maybe not quite in the exact form they initially intended, this does get passed. But look, he has incredibly narrow majorities in the House and the Senate, and the House conference contains multitudes, right? You have the hard right guys who in many ways it should be, and frankly is, an easier task for Donald Trump than it has been for some past presidents, because they used to traditionally, back when I covered Congress, they were the rabble rousers, they were the pain in then Speaker Boehner's side, they wouldn't agree to anything. A lot of these people are Trump guys. So a lot of those very firm convictions they had about not growing the debt or the deficit or out of control spending, some of them still have them. And that's what you're seeing now in these final kind of nitpicky points. But they are willing to put a lot of those beliefs aside to do what Donald Trump wants them to do. And then, of course, there's the moderates who have a totally different perspective, who represent entirely different constituencies, who are much more concerned with things like the SALT cap. But the House has always been, especially House Republicans, like herding cats, even when you're someone like Donald Trump, who, not to mix a cudgel with the cat metaphor, but who does have that cudgel.
David, I wonder how much this politically benefits the Republican Party, because you have the conservatives who are arguing that they don't want to add to the deficit. The bill that, as it currently stands, according to multiple different groups analyzing it, will add anywhere between $2 trillion to $4 trillion to the deficit, which is quite a bit of money. And there's a question about how that's affecting the markets, which we're watching right now. At the same time, one of the ways to not pass a bill that doesn't add so much to the deficit is not just cutting Medicaid, which Josh Hawley has argued is a bad idea for Republicans because they won off the working class, but maybe to raise taxes for the very wealthy instead of lowering them, raise taxes for corporations.
Donald Trump has already imposed on working Americans the largest working class tax increase in American history. That's what tariffs are. They're a tax that falls on working people. You know, that young man whom Speaker Jim Johnson fantasized about on his couch playing video games, the couch is tariffed. The video games are tariffed. Does he pause for a soda? The aluminum in the soda is tariffed. Maybe he has a beer. The bottle cap and the bottle are tariffed. Does he have perhaps a snack? The bread made of Canadian wheat, tariffed. So all of those, with all the hullabaloo, sort of the three-card Monte game of the tariffs, we've lost sight. The United States already now is a higher tariff country than it has been at any time since the immediate aftermath of World War II. And those tariffs are now at a level where they are collecting revenue, which is coming overwhelmingly from the people who can afford it least. So it's not just spending cuts for the young man on the couch, but massive tax increases on that young man too to finance the high-end tax relief. And if Donald Trump raises taxes on the rich, well, you know what? I don't think we should speculate about this until we've seen the bill notarized.
Yeah, I mean, we are waiting for the final version of the bill. All right, so we're watching the markets, as I mentioned a moment ago, and the Dow is down nearly 2%, down 800 points almost. Senior business correspondent for NBC News, Christine Romans, has very kindly rushed over to the set for us. So, Christine, explain what we're watching.
There's a couple of different things happening here, but there was a Treasury bond auction earlier today that was a little disappointing, and that sounds very wonky, but it's really important because you've got this tax and spending discussion underway. You've got a Moody's downgrade that just happened because of concerns about debt and deficits, and then you have demand for American treasuries was a little disappointing. So you have people selling treasuries. That means the yields are going up, and that's putting pressure on the stock market. I know.
English.
Basically, it means we're on the wrong footing in terms of our fiscal direction, and the markets are paying attention to that.
I paid attention when Ron Insana was trying to school me on economics the other day when we were at the New York Stock Exchange after Donald Trump's Liberation Day and the stock market just completely tanked for about a week. He said it's bad news when the Russell 2000 is down because that's usually pretty stable. It's small businesses. Last I checked, this was a couple hours ago, it was down almost 2%.
Yeah. I was with you when we had that kind of conversation on the floor of the stock exchange.
So is it still down? Is it still a problem?
Yeah, we watched that one.
And does it have to do with what Kevin O'Leary was saying, which is that this budget deal has in it a provision, and he got into the weeds, but one that would make it harder for small businesses to operate?
Look, this budget deal is full of a lot of stuff, and it's going to change a lot. So there's that.
It's going to touch everybody.
It will touch everybody. There's that. But when you look at what's happening in the bond market is sending us a signal that all of this is unsustainable, that America's financial house is not in order. There's a couple other things happening, too. United Healthcare is in the Dow. That's only 30 stocks, and that had a downgrade today, and it's got all kinds of headwinds and negative headlines for United Healthcare. Target had a disappointing outlook there for Target. It says it's going to do everything it can without raising prices because of tariffs, but that might not be the case. There's a lot of different things happening, but I'm very, very focused here on the bond market again and what that is telling us. You have 30-year interest rates back above 5%. That hasn't happened since the fall of 2023. So it's telling you there's a moment here in America's fiscal path.
Speaking of moments, this would seem to be the moment for a progressive like you or Democrats, period, to come out here and say, you trusted Donald Trump on the economy. Why'd you trust him? Look what's happening.
Fundamentally, to zoom out, Donald Trump is proposing solutions to problems that are not actually real. There are no problems that he's trying to actually solve for that working class people need. The problems of working class are that housing is more unaffordable for them than ever, buying a car, being able to pay for college education, child care, and healthcare premiums are going through the roof. And nothing that he's talking about refer or address those. He is talking about corporate tax reductions. He's talking about, if you look at the distributional impact of his tax plan, people making over $4.3 million, that's the top 0.1%, they get about $400,000 of additional money out of this. Meanwhile, if you're 51,000 or under, you're losing money as a result of this bill, losing money. And so that right there, that's your working class attack. And that's the message we got to get out to working class people.